You know, today we're going to be tackling something that's always kind of intrigued me. It's the whole idea of what makes a truly exceptional, like, number two, you know?
Right.
We always hear so much about, like, the visionary leaders, right?
Mhm.
The trailblazers, the big
The
names.
ones who get all the attention.
Yeah, exactly. But what about the people who are, like, right there with them, helping them to actually reach those incredible heights?
Yeah, it's a dynamic that's, I think, absolutely essential to success, but
Yeah.
it's often overlooked. And to really kind of unpack it today, we're going to be focusing on this fascinating partnership between the architect, Zaha Hadid,
Oh, yeah.
and her longtime collaborator, Patrik Schumacher.
Okay, yeah.
Does that name ring a bell?
Vaguely. I'm excited to learn more. I
You
feel like I should know more about him.
Yeah, he's not as much of a household name,
Right.
but we've got this great article here all about Schumacher's journey and his perspective on this whole dynamic.
Okay.
And I think you'll find it really interesting.
I have to admit, like, when I was looking through this earlier, I was blown away by how he really navigated this role. It's so much more than just, like, following orders. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's about a true partnership.
Yeah.
And I think their story reveals some really key lessons about what makes this kind of collaboration so powerful.
Okay, awesome. I'm ready. Let's dive in.
So lesson number one, embracing the visionary.
Okay, so hold on. What does that actually mean? It's more than just, like, agreeing with everything the leader says,
Oh,
right?
for sure, for sure. Yeah, it's about truly understanding the why behind the vision. Like, what are the core motivations, the principles driving it? And then it's about taking that vision and figuring out how to actually make it a reality.
Okay, I can dig it. I was reading about how Hadid was known for these incredibly fluid, almost gravity-defying designs. I mean, how do you even build something like that?
Well, that's where Schumacher's expertise in something called parametric design comes in.
Oh, parametric design.
Yeah, have you
Yeah.
heard of that?
I don't think so.
It's super cool. So basically, Hadid would create these amazing concepts, but they often pushed the boundaries of what was like structurally possible at the time. Schumacher was able to use this parametric design with all its algorithms and computer modeling and really bridge that gap between like crazy vision and how to actually construct it.
So it's like he was the translator between her artistic vision and the practical world of engineering and construction.
Exactly.
That's wild.
And this actually highlights our second lesson, complementary skills and strengths.
Ooh,
So think about it like a band, right?
I love a good analogy.
You need the driving beat of the drums, the soaring melody of the vocals, the grounding rhythm of the bass. Each member brings something totally unique, and together they create something way bigger
I'm with you. I'm with you.
than any one part.
And you know what's really interesting is that Schumacher wasn't initially a parametric design expert. He developed those skills specifically to meet the needs of Hadid's vision.
That's right. Yeah.
Talk about dedication.
Total dedication and adaptability. And that brings us to our next crucial element, the art of constructive feedback.
Okay, now I imagine that in a creative field like architecture, where things can get really personal, giving feedback must be a delicate balancing act.
You're telling me. And that's where Schumacher really shines. He mastered the art of supporting Hadid while also challenging her ideas, always aiming to elevate the design to make it even better. It's about being honest and direct, but also respectful, focusing on the work, not the person.
I feel like that's so relevant to everyone, like even outside of architecture. I mean, think about giving feedback to your boss, to a teammate, even a friend who's like poured their heart into something.
Yeah.
How do you do that in a way that helps them grow without hurting their feelings?
Right. It's a crucial skill and one that takes practice, but it's essential for any successful collaboration, no matter what field you're in.
Okay, so we've talked about embracing the vision, bringing complementary skills, and giving constructive feedback. But what happens when the leader isn't there anymore?
That's a big one. That's where we see the true test of a number two. And that leads us to our next lesson, stepping up when needed. And in Schumacher's case, this wasn't a hypothetical scenario. It became his reality when Hadid unexpectedly passed away.
Oh, wow. That must have been incredibly difficult, both personally and professionally.
Oh, absolutely. Suddenly, he had to lead this world-renowned firm through a period of, immense grief, uncertainty. Not only did he have to manage the practical side, the projects, the clients, the team, but he also carried the weight of honoring Hadid's legacy while finding his own path forward.
That's tough. It's like having to both protect a precious flame and ignite your own fire at the same time.
Yeah, it's a delicate balance. And what's remarkable is that Schumacher didn't try to become a Zaha clone. He acknowledged her influence while starting to shape his own leadership style and direction for the firm.
That actually leads perfectly into our fifth lesson, maintaining individual identity.
Right.
It's like those amazing musical duos where each artist has a successful solo career.
Oh, yeah, I love that.
That individual expression actually enriches their work together.
Exactly. And Schumacher had his own architectural theories, particularly his work on something called parametricism, which added another dimension to their collaborations. He wasn't trying to overshadow Hadid's style, but to complement it and evolve it.
You know, it's incredible to think that they worked together for decades.
Gates? Yeah, it's amazing.
What do you think fueled that kind of long-term partnership?
Well, our sixth lesson gets to the heart of it: loyalty and trust. And we're not just talking about casual friendship here. This is about a deep bedrock level of trust, the kind that allows for vulnerability, risk-taking, and that honest feedback we talked about earlier.
You know, there was this one detail in the article that really stuck with me. Schumacher not only supported Hadid during her life, but he's continued to fiercely champion her legacy after her death. That's real loyalty.
It really is. It shows us that true loyalty extends beyond the immediate circumstances. It's about a lasting commitment to the shared vision and values.
Okay, so before we move on, I have a confession to make.
Oh.
When we first started talking about the number 2, I'll admit I had a bit of a preconceived notion. Like it was somehow less important, less glamorous than being the leader.
I get it. It's a common misconception. But as we've seen through these lessons, being an exceptional number 2 is anything but secondary. It requires a different kind of strength and often an even greater dose of humility.
It's about understanding that leadership isn't always about being in the spotlight. It's about knowing when to support, when to challenge, and always how to make the partnership stronger.
Absolutely. And these principles aren't just confined to the boardroom or, some fancy design studio. They're relevant to all sorts of relationships.
Ooh, I like this. Get personal.
Think about friendships, for example. You have that friend who's always bursting with ideas, right? The life of the party,
Oh, yeah.
always dragging you on some crazy adventure.
Yes, always.
And then you have their number 2, the friend who's a little more grounded, maybe, who helps channel that energy into something truly meaningful. They're the voice of reason, the planner, the one who makes sure everyone gets home safe at the end of the night.
Okay, that's perfect. It's like those two friends who are totally different, but somehow together they create this perfect balance.
Exactly. And that balance is what allows them to achieve more than they ever could alone.
This is blowing my mind.
It's about recognizing that different strengths are valuable, that supporting someone doesn't mean dimming your own light.
Okay, so much to think about here. To recap, we've explored these 6 powerful lessons about being an exceptional number 2, using examples from architecture, tech startups, even friendships.
And it's so cool how these principles apply across so many fields and industries, right? Even personal relationships.
Yeah.
It highlights just how universal effective collaboration really is.
All right, so as we get ready to move into our final lesson here, I want to leave our listeners with a thought-provoking question.
Okay, I love a good question. Hit me.
So if you were the visionary leader, the Zaha Hadid, the Steve Jobs, the Marie Curie of your field, what qualities would you look for in your ideal number 2?
Ooh, that's a great question. It really makes you think, doesn't it? What skills, what perspective, what kind of personality would best complement your strengths and help you actually bring that vision to life?
Yeah, it's making me rethink this whole idea of leadership. Maybe it's not about finding someone who just follows your lead, but someone who can push you, challenge you, help you see things in a new light.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that even the most brilliant minds have blind spots,
Right.
and that a truly effective leader is open to learning and growing from the people around them.
It's not about ego. It's about creating a dynamic where everyone can thrive and contribute their unique talents.
You got it.
So-
And remember those 6 lessons we've been unpacking. Embracing the visionary, complementary skills, constructive feedback, stepping up when needed, maintaining individual identity, loyalty, and trust.
Okay. Yeah, they're all starting to come together now.
They all point to this deeper truth about collaboration. It's not about one person being in charge. It's about creating a shared journey where everyone feels valued and empowered to contribute their best.
You know, what's really fascinating to me is how this idea of mutual learning applies not just to like individuals, but to entire organizations, too.
Absolutely.
Think about like a tech startup, for example.
Yeah, great example. You've got the visionary founder with this disruptive idea, right?
Full of passion, drive, but maybe not all the practical know-how to build a sustainable business.
Exactly. And that's where the number two comes in. Someone who can take that big idea and turn it into a concrete plan.
So like a COO, a strong operations person?
Precisely. They bring the complementary skills, the structure, the processes that allow the vision to actually scale and thrive.
It's not about one being better than the other. It's
Yeah.
about recognizing that different strengths are needed at different stages.
100%. And just like in the Hadid-Schumacher partnership, the best collaborations see both sides learning and adapting.
Oh, I like that. So the founder learns about building systems. The number two gets a deeper understanding of the vision.
It's a win-win.
Okay, this is making me think about all those stories we hear about companies struggling to transition from like scrappy startup to established company. Is it possible that they're missing this number two element?
It's definitely a factor. Sometimes a visionary leader is reluctant to bring in someone who might challenge their way of doing things.
Yeah, it can be tough to let go of control, especially when you've poured your heart and soul into something.
You're right. But as we've seen with Hadid and Schumacher, that willingness to embrace different perspectives, to have those tough conversations, is often what leads to greater success in the long run.
It's like that saying, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together.
Love it. And it really underscores the importance of everything we've been talking about. Embracing the visionary complementary skills, constructive feedback, stepping up, maintaining individual identity, they all play a crucial role in building lasting, impactful collaborations.
And speaking of lasting impact, that seventh and final lesson learning and growing together really highlights how these partnerships aren't static. They're always evolving.
Absolutely. And that evolution can lead to some incredible breakthroughs.
Okay, where are we going with this?
Think about scientific discoveries, for example.
Oh, yeah, okay. Like those classic pairings of
Yeah.
scientists who together make these world-changing discoveries.
Exactly. Often you have one scientist who is just brilliant at generating those aha moments.
The ideas person.
Right. And then their partner might be incredible at designing the experiments, meticulously testing and refining those ideas.
So it's like that perfect blend of creative spark and analytical rigor.
Boom. There it is. And that constant exchange of knowledge, the back and forth, the challenges,
Yeah.
that's where the real magic happens.
You know, earlier when we were first talking about the concept of the number two, I think I had this idea in my head that it was somehow less important.
Yeah, less glamorous than being the leader.
Exactly.
I get it. It's a common assumption. But after exploring all these different lessons with you today, it's clear that being an exceptional number two is anything but secondary. It takes its own unique skill set
A different kind of strength.
and a lot of humility.
So it's about understanding that true leadership isn't always about being in the spotlight.
Sometimes it's about shining that light on someone else.
That's about knowing when to support, when to challenge, and always how to make the partnership stronger.
Beautifully said. And you know what's so cool about these principles is they really aren't confined to the boardroom or the lab. They apply to all sorts of relationships.
Oh, yeah, totally. Like, think about friendships. I'm sure everyone listening has that one friend who's always bursting with ideas.
The life of the party.
The one who's always dragging you into some crazy adventure.
Exactly. And then you have their number two, the friend who's maybe a little more grounded,
Yeah.
helps channel that energy into something actually meaningful. They're the voice of reason, the planner.
The one who makes sure everyone gets home safe. I love that. It's like you have these two friends who are totally different, but together they create this perfect balance.
It's all about balance,
Yeah.
right? And that balance is actually what allows them to achieve more than they ever could on their own. Recognizing that different strengths are valuable, that supporting someone doesn't mean dimming your own light.
Man, this has been so eye-opening. So to recap, we've explored these 7 powerful lessons about being an exceptional number two using all sorts of examples: architecture, tech startups, scientific discoveries, even friendships.
And what's so great is these principles apply across so many different fields, industries, even personal relationships. It really shows just how universal, effective collaboration can be.
It really does. So as we wrap up this deep dive, I just want to say that I'm left with a sense of, well, hope. Hope that by understanding these principles, we can all create more fulfilling and impactful collaborations.
Absolutely. It's about recognizing that power of partnership, that magic that happens when we bring different minds together with a shared purpose.
Yeah, on this side, I'm better myself. Well, that about does it for us today. Thanks for joining us for another deep dive. And until next time, keep diving deep and exploring that incredible potential of collaboration.